podcast about something where each week we dive deep into whatever it is we find interesting. I'm your host, Calvin, and joining me from Scranton, PA, it's your co-host, Nick Richardson.
It's the Scranton what?
The Electric City.
There you go. I was like, is he going to get it? Is he going to pick up what I'm putting down here?
Yeah, you didn't have the right, tone behind your singing, and I was like, what the hell is going on?
Oh, you going to blame me for this? Calvin.
They call it that because of all the electricity. Ooh.
Your tone was just way off. Way off.
It really was.
I can't follow
it. I'll agree.
Toby's gone away.
Goodbye, Toby. Goodbye. Okay, we're not here to talk about any of those things that we said. We are here to talk about the management within Dunder Mifflin on The Office.
And oh, what a management team it is.
We're going from C-level executives all the way down to the regional managers and warehouse foremen. And we're just going to talk about each one. What they're like, what their management styles are, if we'd want to work for them, why or why not, when they got the job, when they left the job, all of that good stuff.
And as you folks know, if you're a fan of The Office, which I'm sure you are if you clicked on this episode, there's some fucking characters in here, so there's a little bit to unpack.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack. Yeah.
What's weird is I found going through this list, the characters are always the endearing people to me, and the people who are like pretty straightforward, normal, well-to-do people, it's like I don't like them. I'm not a fan of that guy.
Nobody likes Toby.
Yeah, goodbye Toby. Just eat rocks or suck this.
Yeah. 23 different people in 28 or so different job positions we're going to talk about today.
It's bananas.
This might turn into a three-parter like the Power Rangers.
We shall see.
Probably not.
We should
be able to move through some of these pretty quickly.
Yeah. Some of these losers.
All right, so let's get it started.
Let's do it.
Just in case it does, need to be broken up into three parts. So let's start with the C-level executives. Those are they work at corporate, CEOs, CFOs, all of that good stuff. And we got to start. When I put it together, I did it by job level. So whoever has the highest job level in the hierarchy, and then I moved through the timeline of the show when they had the job through the end of the show. And then we'd go to the next rung on the list. So we start with C-level, and then we go to the VPs, and then we go through their time, and then we go to the regional managers and go through timeline of the show there. So we're starting with the C-level at the corporate office. The man, the myth, the legend, David Wallace, CFO/owner of Dunder Mifflin Scranton.
Eventually.
Or Dunder Mifflin, I suppose.
First appearing is just in the second season as the CFO.
Yeah, so he appears in season 2 as the CFO, and he continues to be the CFO through season 6, and then he comes back as the owner in season 9.
Which is just a weird chain of events.
Yeah, he doesn't do much there. But as far as David Wallace, he's a pretty straightforward guy. He seems very analytical and thoughtful. He's smart and he's forward-thinking. He's not afraid to try things, which is good. But as a manager, I feel like regarding the VPs under him and the regional managers under him, he really gives a decent amount of free reign to his employees.
Right. I think he's pretty laid back, but he's awfully reactionary. When they're going through their bankruptcy is when he employs Michael to, what are you doing right? And he should be paying attention. He's the chief financial officer.
Not that Michael gives him any good information from that meeting.
Either way, he obviously sees the numbers and stuff like that. It's just like, you're obviously doing something right, and I don't know. You gotta...
Yeah, maybe spend some time there rather than bringing Michael up to New York. You go to Scranton and figure it out.
There you go. That's a great fucking
See how
point.
the branch operates. Spend a week there.
Oh, my God.
Of course, at the same time, if the CFO walks in, the office isn't going to operate like it normally operates. Jim's not going to be pulling any pranks. Dwight will probably still be Dwight, but Creed probably wouldn't even show up for that week. Kevin, they would probably put on PTO for the week. Kevin, just don't show up.
Oscar would still be on vacation for something Michael did when he was freaking out. And then Toby would be the face of the company.
Yeah. But for David, he lets Michael and Jan and even Ryan get away with just a ton of shit that most employees should not be able to get away with.
Right. I think he's I mean, he's kind of similar to my management style. That's like, I'll overlook a lot of shit as long as,
the job's getting
the
done.
job is done and it's tight. Like, it's not done sloppily. It's done and it's done well. Then, okay,
and
I'll take the faults.
We get to that point with Jan at the end of season 4, or at the end of season 3. Sorry, she gets to the end of that rope.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll talk about Jan in a few minutes, so we won't get there. But he like you said, he gives her free reign until it's just too much. And same thing with Ryan. Well, I guess Ryan he didn't have much to do with. Ryan got himself out of there. But even Andy in season 9, like he let him get away with so much, and then when it came time, he did what he needed to.
When his back
I don't know.
Was against the wall. It took Andy,
yeah,
disappearing for 3 months
and even then he wasn't going to let him go.
Right.
There had to be a few other things on top of that. Do we know where he worked before Dunder Mifflin at all?
I don't think I don't think it's mentioned that. Yeah.
He just comes in as the new CFO, quote unquote, in season 2 when everybody on Valentine's Day when everybody goes up to New York. But before he's owner of Dunder Mifflin in season 9, he is the head of Suck It.
Yeah.
Which leads him to become a millionaire. You suck it! You suck it! I would probably buy a Suck It based on that jingle.
Dude, alone. I sing that jingle all the fucking time. Like, the guy that works for me, if we get some produce in that's not looking very good, he very loudly will yell, "Suck my dick, cabbage," or, zucchini. It's fucking hilarious, especially, because it pierces through a giant cooler. And in my head every time, you suck it, then you suck it,
and you suck it.
Yeah, that's pretty much the gist.
So David Wallace, like I said, he's CFO until season 6 when the economy just hits too hard for Dunder Mifflin to continue on with the corporate structure the way that it is. Basically, all of corporate gets dissolved, and the only thing left after that, Sabre buys up the distribution. So that's how David Wallace moves on that time. And then at the end of the show, season 9, he's technically still the owner of Dunder Mifflin at that point.
Yeah, so he kind of went despondent when he lost his gig and just sat around a lot, ate marshmallow fluff sandwiches, and came up with Suck It.
He got working on Suck It, yeah, which is important.
I mean, I wish
all
I could
that
do
stay
some
at home
like
time.
That.
Yeah. So the big question: would you work for David Wallace?
Shit, yeah, man. If I could get away with all that baloney while he, did nothing, and I could produce good numbers, I would have so much fun at work. It'd be awesome.
Yeah, did you rate it on a 1 to 10? That was part of the outline. I don't know if you did it or not, though.
I would give it a 10. Because he is so hands-off, and he, at the same time, is in a position where he can make major decisions. Like, when Ryan, Pam, and Michael started, that company, I'm not going to say it, because we'll go there later.
Yeah, we'll get there.
Basically, he cleared that through the waiver. He presented it to the board. So it's somewhere he obviously has some push, some pull. He can get things done. He's able to get you the resources you need as long as you hit him with those numbers and probably don't fuck up too much.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I gave him a 9. It's the highest score I give out of any of these 25 people we're going to talk about. He doesn't micromanage, like you said. He gives his employees tasks and kind of lets them figure it out for themselves. He doesn't give them a task and then check in every 5 minutes. What's going on? And he also gives really clear directives of what he wants and how he wants it and why it's important. You see that a lot in season 6 during the co-manager phase of, he's calling and he's saying, this is what we need. Okay, now you guys take it and figure it out and get it back to me. It's not, I'm going to tell you so much detail that I might as well just do it myself.
Yeah, here's a general outline. Get there.
Yep. And that's really a positive thing in a manager. He's not always in their business. He lets them run wild. He lets Michael and crew run wild as much as they can until it gets out of control, i.e. Dwight in season 5 when he sets the building on fire. Like, you got to put your foot down at that point.
Right.
Andy going off on a 3-month trip, you got to come in and put your foot down at that point. So he lets things run until they reach a conclusion where he has to do something, and he's not afraid to step in and do the things that need to be done.
That's the only fault I could really say of him is, like I said earlier, I think he's a little reactionary. Like, there's definitely some things he could have done preemptively, but at the same time, I'm not going to take points away from the dude because everyone has a fault, especially, people aren't perfect, and if that's the fault I got to deal with, okay.
Yeah. So let's move on to the next C-level executive that we're introduced to, and it's Joe Bennett, CEO of Sabre.
Sabre.
Season 6 and 7. Sabre.
Dunder, Mifflin, Sabre.
What do you think of Joe Bennett?
I think she's
great. As a person.
I think she is hilarious. And, well, as a person, I imagine she's probably a ruthless businesswoman, business person. She reminds me an awful lot of my boss, actually, who's a total fucking badass. She's very direct. I have a lot of respect for her, but I know she's pretty ruthless when it comes to business. And, I mean, she also reminds me of my grandma, so I'm a big fan of my grandma. Southern
She's
cooking.
She's got both sides.
Oh, man, I miss that shit. I just miss all the butter and biscuits.
Butter still exists.
Oh, God.
You can make yourself biscuits.
It's not the same as Southern grandma butter, all right? That sounded really fucking weird.
Yeah, she seems very hardworking. She's a divorcee. She's worked hard for some of her money, but also got a lot in the divorce, including, I believe, she inherited this, the company through the divorce, or she and her husband opened Sabre together and she got to retain it after the divorce, something like that.
I think she pushed him out.
Yeah. She seems like a hard ass, like you were saying, but has a soft spot for smart people that she likes. But at the same time, she can take some wild swings on why and how she likes those people. Like we see with Michael, and we see it with Dwight later. I mean, Dwight was probably earned, but she doesn't always get the full picture before she goes all in on somebody, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, she pulls the trigger pretty much immediately on her first instinct. Doesn't really seem to mull anything over, which, to her credit, she's correct relatively often, or at least, some of these decisions pan out, but a lot of them blow up in her face dramatically, and she kind of is just like, yeah, whatever, deal with it, whoever, deal with it, I'm gonna go play with my dogs and do whatever the fuck she does.
Yeah, it's your job to take care of it. So, and that's, as a management style, she's got the same kind of hands-off approach as David Wallace. I think she is a little more or a little less reactionary than David Wallace. Like, she'll get her hands dirty earlier than David Wallace ever would.
Yeah.
And she's serious when need to, but at the same time, she's bringing her dogs into the office. She gets things done. My biggest problem with her is the erratic hours. Like Gabe says, you never know when she's going to be done with her day.
Yeah, that would really not be cool with me. I fucking hate that shit. I gotta know when I'm getting done.
I wouldn't care if she was doing that, but for me to have to be beholden to the same hours as her, that's bullshit.
That, or, you need to pay me.
I was hired to work 9 to 5. I'm leaving at 5. You can stay here till 8 if you want.
Or you pay me double overtime.
Yeah.
And I will be happy to talk to you on the phone at 3 o'clock in the morning at $75 an hour.
Exactly. And she gave up her own job to Robert California in season 8 when he earned the regional manager position, and instead went to Florida to convince Joe to make him CEO.
I thought that was so funny. He took one step inside. I believe she was
still owner. Yeah, I believe she was still owner at that point, but she just was done being CEO, which, all right, fine. I'm okay with that.
That was a good move on her part. I mean, obviously this dude's like Jim says, he's creepy, but I'm pretty sure he's a genius. And I mean, he demonstrates that quite often. And she's like, cool,
we'll get to Robert in a minute.
Right.
We're not there yet. We got to figure out if we could work for Joe. What do you think?
I mean, I could. I think I would get really pissed. I would probably give it a, I could work for her. I would really get pissed off about these rash decisions sometimes, though. Especially if they involved a character like Dwight. Like, if he has, because of how she's feeling at that moment, gets power over me or something like that and just institutes a fucking regime.
Well, right, and the fact that she let him re-interview for the regional manager job after he shot a gun in the office, just because he kind of had the determination to keep trying, that's bullshit.
In fact, she didn't shit can him on the fucking spot. Yeah. Get the fuck out of here. What do you do? You shot a gun. There's people below them, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. I gave it like a 7. I could definitely work for her. I think she's like David Wallace a lot, mostly hands off until something serious needs to be meddled with, like when the printers were on fire and things like that. She came in and did what she needed to. I think I could get on her good side, like Daryl does, kind of with smart ideas. The problem would just be remaining there and like figuring out how to keep coming up with more smart ideas to stay on her good side, because she never gives Daryl shit.
Yeah, I mean, if you can lay low, I think if you lay
get
low,
the one good idea, get in tight, and then just lay low.
Right.
I think that's what Daryl did right.
Don't really bring anything else to the table, because then she may feel like she's pissed off at that moment. But
solid Daryl right there.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably what I would do. The only downside is there really isn't any room for advancement if you're just laying low. If you don't take the risk, you might not get the reward. But that's true. Seems pretty risky with Joe. And
as we mentioned, I would hate the erratic hours.
I would just not fucking do that. I'd be like, all right, no.
That lost her a full point. The erratic hours took her from an 8 to a 7 in my book.
Yeah, that was a big time no for me. Or making me read her book. Be like, no, I'm good.
Let's talk about Robert California.
This guy.
Season 8, CEO of Sabre. He's the fucking Lizard King. He's very strange. Erratic behavior. He sells a branch after a drunken night one time. He's very hard to pin down on what he likes or wants at any given time. Very, very strange person.
The strangest person I've ever seen portrayed on television, damn near. But very, very
just
interesting.
Excellently done by James Spader.
Let's good. He is so good. And like we mentioned earlier, when he first steps foot in the Dunder Mifflin branch and then just leaves and drives to Florida, convinces Joe to let him have the job, that's a ballsy dude. And, his interview process and stuff like that is hilarious.
Absolutely. As a manager, I said he's a micromanager. Which is weird. Because it's a oxymoron, but like, so he likes to get into the nitty gritty of the day-to-day business, but only to the point where it's interesting to him. He doesn't actually care how like a salesperson's doing at their actual job, but he cares why people act in certain ways. So he wants to be like in your face, telling you what to do, or like moving you around. But not like, it doesn't matter if that helps or hurts your sales. He's just like, I don't know, Oscar, you are a gay man, so you need to be closer to Creed for this reason. Try working on your computer over by Creed. Like, that's something he would do. Just move him for no reason other than it would be interesting to him.
The northern Himalayan tribes told me that your chakra electrical waves are conducive to Creed's mung beans.
I don't know that he's feng shui guy.
Oh, he's mystic as shit. That dude's
I think he's
PCP
fuck with people
shit.
Guy.
No,
I think he would do things to people that would entertain him on this micro level of moving puzzle pieces around and trying to make things work, but doesn't actually care. Like, he never actually tells Andy how to do his job. He just like throws out these wild suggestions and lets Andy try to extrapolate meaning from them, and there is no meaning in them.
Yeah, he's kind of
just
a narcissist.
Because I think he wants to fuck with them.
He's a bit of a narcissist, kind of a fuck, if I do say so myself. It's super funny. Like, it's
very funny to watch.
Yeah, he's very funny to watch. He's just so fucking odd, man. Like, all his his body language and expressions and stuff like that, and like you said, just the tangents he goes on are so weird.
Yeah, his past is a complete mystery, but he leaves the CEO job when David Wallace reacquires Dunder Mifflin, and he somehow talked David Wallace into giving him this like outreach type job where he went to work with young Eastern European women to teach them business. Am I right there?
As far as I remember.
Yeah, it was something weird like that.
That sounds pretty
Basically,
tight.
He was just going to hook up with young Eastern European people on Dunder Mifflin's dime.
He's a little old. But, I mean, he's at the same time, he didn't strike me as too gross. No. Like with the whole Aaron situation, he seemed okay, but it was just really unprofessional to have all these people at your house. I think, even though you
Yeah, the pool party was a weird spot. I would not want to be there. I would go into the party on the gym plan. You go in, get a picture, one anecdote, and you're out of there.
That
it didn't work for Jim, but that's how you got to do a work party, especially one at Robert California's pool.
100%. And you know this dude's loaded. He kind of flaunts it, but doesn't. He's a total enigma. But the weird thing about him is I think he totally buys into his own bullshit. Like, he's drinking the Kool-Aid, for sure.
Yes. He's Galaxy Brain George Costanza.
I have no idea what that reference is.
Yeah, I know. All my Seinfeld fans will get it. He's bought into his bullshit enough that it's made him successful. Like, George Costanza is constantly buying into his own bullshit, but he's bad at it. He's bad at his own bullshit, so he just digs himself deeper and deeper into a hole. Robert California is the opposite of that. Like, he's done so much bullshit that he's bought into that it somehow made him super successful.
Yeah, I mean, it's given him a weird confidence that's hard to ignore.
Well, I think he probably had the confidence first, and that's another difference between him and George Costanza, is Robert California goes in with confidence and knows what to do and how to do it, and that's why he's able to pull off his bullshit better than George over, because George has no confidence.
That's the defining factor.
Yeah. I don't know about you, but I could not work for Robert California. I gave him a 3 on a scale of 1 to 10. It's just way too erratic. I wouldn't be able to handle the anxiety surrounding the intense one-on-one conversations that he likes to have with everyone every day, that like Aaron is super excited for on that one day. He's constantly in everybody's business, but not their actual work business, and I hate that. Like, just let me do my job. If you want to check on how I'm doing on my job, fine. Don't get up in my face for other shit.
Yeah.
And I'd just be in constant fear of losing my job due to his mood.
Well, I'm pretty much in line with you. I gave him a 5 simply because, you're
always more generous on the bad ratings than I am.
Yeah, I'm pretty fluid because I've had some shitty bosses out there. But I try to look at his potential. Obviously, he can get shit done. He's creative, and it's a different point of view. But at the same time, I think it's totally unprofessional to have your staff come party at your house and provide them with a bunch of fucking alcohol. I think it's...
Well, and basically put them in a situation where they could lose their job.
Right. And I think he crosses some lines in conversation points. Presser. It's just something where at the workplace, I mean, I'm a totally different guy out of the workplace, but I think it's... I couldn't, like you said, the erratic behavior, the constantly up your ass. I think the silly little list that he put together of like who's winners and losers.
Again, I think that's just a fuck with people thing. Like, his whole life is fuck with people.
Yeah, fuck that. I hate people like that.
No, I'm not a fan of that.
Yeah, no. I have a feeling like half the time I'd want to just pound this motherfucker. The other half of the time.
Just tell me what you want out of me.
Yeah.
Don't like...
A one sentence
He's
thing.
got that weird, like, airy stare when he talks to you. Of like...
Yeah.
He like says something and leaves the end of the sentence hanging, and you don't know like if he has more to say or if he is going to, or if you're supposed to respond. And I work with somebody like that who does the same thing. They talk and they say the thing that they're going to say, but they don't end on a question or even the end of a statement. They just like leave their sentence hanging a little bit, where it's like, are you going to keep talking or is it my turn now?
They're trying to see they're trying to see your reaction before you,
exactly,
before they continue.
They don't want to push you into giving them like the answer they want to hear, so they just leave it off, and it's like, all right, why don't you just ask me the question you want to ask?
I fucking hate that so much. Ugh.
So as far as my research goes, that is all the C-level executives I could find that we're introduced to on the show. There were a couple like at the big the stockholders meeting, but they weren't. They may not have even been announced with their names at that point, so we're not going to cover any of them.
David Wallace introduced people to Michael, but I don't remember.
One of them was like a senator, and one was maybe the CEO of Dunder Mifflin at the time. But again, I don't know their names or anything, so we're not going to cover them.
Sounds good.
So we're going to move to the Vice President of the Northeast region. That's what I believe this title is called. And we start with Jan, who held this role from seasons 1 through 3, and could best be described as psycho.
Oh, God. Oh,
domineering, belittling, overbearing, controlling, whatever other psycho thing comes along with it.
She's bad fucking news, man. She's the hot chick that your dad is like, stay the fuck away from her, son. Don't go near her. I know she's hot, but just don't. Trust me on this. That's the kind of chick it is. Ugh.
From what we see, she's a classic micromanager. She's constantly checking in to make sure that the work is done before ever giving anyone an opportunity to actually finish it. It may be a reflection of Michael, but from the other things we see from her, I doubt it. I feel like she's calling every branch all the time to like get their weekly sales numbers that are due on Friday, but she's calling them Thursday to make sure they remember to do it.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I get it.
I get it. You're a powerful professional woman. I totally hear you. This is unnecessary.
Yeah. We don't know her work history before Dunder Mifflin, but basically she lost the job when she became too crazy to hold on to her own job. She thought it was because she got a boob job, but again, that's just more pointing to the fact that she's crazy.
Well, I mean, and David Wallace laid it out.
He really did.
Pretty perfectly. Every reason he gave, it was just like, yeah, okay, yeah, I'd fire someone for that too.
Yep.
Makes sense.
Spent too much time in Scranton. She was sleeping with at least one subordinate, but probably two, because there was Michael and also most likely Hunter. Took long breaks to visit her sister in Scottsdale, which I believe was a euphemism for getting her boob job done. And her work performance was constantly slipping throughout the course of the show. And we even see that. We see her getting worse and worse at her own job. When she's first introduced, I believe in season 2, the client, when they go and make that sales call at Chili's, like, she's really good and ahead of the game and making sure Michael's on the same page. And then by the end of season 3, she's just going nuts at every possible cue.
Just making irrational decisions.
Bad decisions, yeah.
And it's like when the micromanaging consumes a manager, and then it's just like, oh, you've fallen off the rails. You lost your shit.
She was losing control of her own life, so she tried to tighten her grip around her work life, and that led to her losing more and more control at work because, like you said, the micromanagement just went too far, and people don't respond after a certain point of that.
But I mean, it's Jan Levinson in the morning. Love it.
Could you work for Jan?
Fuck no. I'm getting that a 1. Let me say it again.
Wow.
1.
Wow.
Fuck that, dude. No thank you. 1. She cannot keep her personal shit out of her professional shit. No thanks.
So here's the thing. I think I could work for Jan. It would be hard, but I think I could. I gave it a 5. Which is like right middle ground. I could do it. I could deal with it.
Huh?
I don't like micromanagement. Let's just throw that. Micromanagement. Do you remember that scene where Michael's talking to Jim? He's like, it's the butt licker scene where he's like, I'm going to manage you on a more micro level. I wish there was a name for that. And Jim's like, micromanagement.
I do not remember that, but I know the scene you're talking about pretty well.
Yeah, when they're doing the sales call, the pretend sales calls to William H. Buttlicker. Anyway, so I don't like that.
Have never been lower.
Buttlicker. Just tell me what you want. Let me get it done. I don't need you checking in every 10 minutes like she seems to do. She's also legitimately crazy, which would make it difficult to figure out how to work with her mood every day. But I think you could also take advantage on those good mood days and pretty much get whatever you want. And I think if you're not the one sleeping with her, you'd be able to handle working for her. Like fucking Craig in Albany. He didn't have any problems working for her.
Because he wanted to bang her.
Well, yeah. But he didn't bang her, so that's what made it easier.
Yeah, he was willing to take more of her shit.
I just feel like it would be more about managing her moods than it would be about doing your job well, which is probably why Michael was so successful under her, because he figured out how to manage her moods rather than ever being good at his job.
At least it seems like she would surge when something would go bad, which was inevitable. And then when Michael kind of let it just roll off his shoulders and didn't let it affect him too much, he kind of backed off a little bit. Mm-hmm. But I couldn't. Fuck that, man. We can't be beholden to someone's feelings at the office. That's silly. And it's like...
It depends how much you want to actually do your job, though.
Well, I'm there to work. That's kind of my thing. I gotta pass the time somehow. I'm gonna get it the fuck done, and her outbursts and stuff just take me away from working and the shit I gotta get done. So I gotta spend more time at the office. And has like
Michael doesn't ever seem to.
Yeah. Well, fuck that. She just has that inability to not bring up her personal life into every professional conversation.
That would be the hard part of like, okay, we get it. You went through a divorce. All right, we get it. You're going crazy. Like, just
you have new boobs.
How about we talk about paper?
Yeah. Dunder, Mifflin. And
the people, persons, paper people.
And she's just kind of mean too.
Yes, she was mean.
She just does not.
That's basically everybody's first impression of her. Like everybody, the first time they said something about her was that she was a cold bitch. Like that's the first thing you hear out of the guys that go up on Valentine's Day. The 4 different managers there. Todd Packer says it to Michael the first time he calls in when in the client. So I think that was her. That's her normal go-to personality is just to be cold, and that's not good.
Yeah, fuck all that.
Let's move on to Ryan Howard.
The boy
got the vice president job, the Wonderkind. This is season 4, all of season 4. Ryan can be best described as a douche.
A giant douche.
That's the only word you need to describe his personality.
I mean, you can use plenty of synonyms for that. I mean, whatever you want to put in there.
I think they all lead back to douche.
Yeah, or piece of shit, all of the above. He is just not a good dude.
As a manager, people called him a wonderkind. He doesn't know what that means. It means he's successful for his age, I guess. He's fraudulent. But on a day-to-day basis, I think he was forceful but not controlling as a manager. And that's how you have to manage a Michael Scott.
But he never got Michael to do anything he wanted.
Yeah, but that's a problem with Michael. That's not a problem with Ryan, I don't think.
No, either as a manager, you change the man or you change the man. That's, okay. I mean, I agree with you. Like, I think he was progressive. He definitely wanted to pull
Yes, he
wanted
to
forward.
Go in the right direction. Yeah, move Dunder, Mifflin, Infinity, move toward a more technological backing. Things like that. He started at Dunder Mifflin as a temp in Scranton. He was promoted VP after Jan was fired, and he had completed business school. David Wallace was really happy to have another MBA around the corporate office. But it all came to culmination when he was arrested for fraud because he was double booking sales that salespeople made as web sales, and that's fraud.
Right.
And as Oscar so nicely points out.
He just didn't really have any balls. Like when it came to he just, I don't know, he kind of faltered when anything got tough. He was not the guy.
That's absolutely right. And I mean, that's classic douche behavior too of, I'm going to puff my chest out and do all this posturing, but then when it comes time to, put your nose to the grindstone, you're not actually going to do it.
Right. Or you make just really dumb decisions because you can't get on top of your anxiety for a second.
He put his whole career path on Dunder Mifflin Infinity working. So every decision he made after that was to make it look like Dunder Mifflin Infinity was working, even though it wasn't.
Yeah, I mean, he convinced himself he was a wonderkind. So he's like, I gotta do wonderkind type shit.
Right.
Doesn't work that way.
The website was a great idea, but instead of fraudulently, faking sales for it, you need to work with the people that are using it and work with your sales staff who need to start pushing the website. Instead, he would just try and push Michael or push Jim around to get them to do what he wanted rather than, actually working with them and saying, okay, what would actually work here?
Right. I mean, you go directly to the sales
how do we
team.
get our customers onto our website rather than calling in for their paper?
Exactly. And Michael's ineffective. He constantly deals with it. He's seen it as an employee beneath and, as a person above. It's just like, dude, just go straight to the employees and deal with it.
Ryan's being a little bitch.
He's a biggity bitch.
Yeah, I'm on the call, Michael. I think I could work for Ryan.
As long as he didn't have any problems with me.
Yeah.
Which I personally...
As long as you're not Michael or Jim, I think it would be okay working for him.
Right. Yeah.
I gave him a 6. I put him between Jan and Joe Bennett.
I would... a 6 sounds really fair.
Yeah. He didn't really ever ask for too much out of employees. He was forceful, or at least he appeared forceful to Michael when things needed to be done. when they needed to introduce PowerPoint, when they needed to make sales on the website. Like he pushed people as much as he could. There's just a point where you can't control Michael anymore or tell him what to do. The big problem with him is he held those personal grudges, specifically against Jim. Like you said, if you could avoid that, I think you'd be fine working under him. My problem with him would be the douchey personality,
right?
And it would be really hard to just like watch him every day. I would need phone calls to my wife after every visit to the office to go, you can't believe what this fucking douche did today.
He's a dirtbag, and I would be very fixated on that. It's like, this fucking dude. As long as I'm not Jim, Michael, or a woman, I'm good, because he's treats Kelly like shit and tried to fuck both Pam and Aaron.
Yeah.
Very inappropriate. Very, very inappropriate.
Absolutely. And, I think if you have limited exposure to him, like probably most other branches did, I think it'd be just fine.
Like if you're Creed.
Yeah.
Or, any other branch, you're good. As long as you're not his favorite branch.
Yeah. Or where he has to go back to do his laundry at his mom's house.
Fucking boner.
So let's move on to Charles Miner. I hardly know her. He was the VP for season 5 and 6. He's got quite the effect on ladies. He seems to like having things his way. Again, kind of like Ryan, he's forceful but not demanding, but his force seems to actually have some force behind it.
Yeah, he's obviously a big dude. He's got a deep voice.
He worked at Stringer Bell, man.
Yeah, he worked at Sedicoy Steel. And, he's kind of tough, it seems. Like, he's definitely strict. But at the same time, I could see him letting a lot of shit go. He obviously does. If you like the same stuff as him, or, you get your shit done.
So I don't feel like he's a micromanager on the level that Jan is, or Ryan tried to be. I think he comes in and tries to enact change early on, and because he wants things done his way. He can also be very vague when requesting something. Still don't know what a rundown is.
Give me a rundown. Can I have an example?
Like you said, he came in from Sadicoy Steel. No background in paper. He was an operation manager over there before Dunder Mifflin, and lost the job at Dunder Mifflin when they went under and the distribution was bought by Sabre. He went out with David Wallace and Allen and everybody else.
He already had, Michael working against him. He couldn't stand Charles Miner. It was not bound to last.
No. So I guess that brings us to if you could work for Charles.
Once again, yeah, probably. I mean, if all I had to do was, put soccer videos on YouTube on my computer and just, wait for him to come around. And easy. And, I mean, he seems to get some shit done, so I could respect that. I'd probably give him, an 8. He seems pretty pro.
Yeah, I gave him a 6.
Oof, a 6?
Same as Ryan here. I think he would be a really good manager if he didn't come in and try to change so much. To me, that's one of the worst things a manager can do, is come in from outside and just start changing shit to how you like it, rather than getting to know the people, getting to know the business, getting to know the job, and figuring out where you can enact the things that you like, rather than just being like, nope, we're going to do it this way, this way, this way. I don't give a shit what you've been doing before, which was obviously working before he came in. And it's just really hard to balance that for an outside manager and to figure out, what's already working and how you want things to work and find that balance and bring them together. And if you just come in trying to change everything right away, you're setting yourself up to not be liked by the employees, which is exactly what happened with Michael. Comes in strong, and you gotta come in slower. I think though, if you get past that first month where he's trying to change everything, and he kind of settles in, I think then it would all work out pretty nicely once he settles in a little bit and either realizes his changes aren't going to stick, or gets his changes pushed through and everybody's adjusted to them.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's heard a shit ton of horror stories about how terrible and dysfunctional this branch is. most people, I'm sure, aren't focusing on the meat and potatoes of the situation, that they're good at what they do and they make money for the company. So I'm sure he kind of coming in with a negative mindset almost. If he could come in with a blank slate, I think it'd be a lot better. He probably wouldn't enact so much change, but you're right. That's the way to go, is to, sit back and kind of absorb for a bit.
Exactly. So that brings us to Gabe Lewis, who is not a VP, but I didn't know where else to fit him. I'm not even sure he's a manager. He's the corporate liaison between Scranton and Florida. He's there from season 6 to 8. He makes a brief appearance in season 9, but not in that role. Gabe seems tall.
Alien-esque.
Yeah.
I fucking
hate him. He's creepy.
Him.
He's weird. He's outgoing, but in a way that encroaches upon your personal boundaries.
So hard, dude.
Yeah, and he's just really, really
fucking creepy, man. No thanks. I mean, if he wanted to make me some pizzas and bring him into work, I'll be his buddy. But the second he's like, yeah, let's watch this horrible, torture porn movie, it'll be sweet. I'm like, nah, I'm good, buddy. You're creepy. Like his little home video he made or whatever.
Yeah, what was it? It was like something of disturbance. Yeah, I know what you're talking
urban
about.
Disturbance or some stupid shit.
Yeah.
That was unsettling, dude. That was super unsettling.
Oh, that's what it was. The Symphony of the Unsettling or something like that is what it was called.
Either way.
Very, very strange.
Don't bring
like
that
I said,
shit on me.
Don't know that Gabe ever actually was anyone's manager. He was more of a toadstool for Joe and later on Robert California, or toilet in Robert California's case. It seemed like he started at Sabre right out of college, and then he became the corporate liaison. He flies between Scranton and Florida 2 days a week. He's in Scranton on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and Florida Mondays and Wednesdays. Super easy schedule there. Make sure he has presence in both locations. He just kind of disappeared after season 8, I think.
Yeah, I think, the creators were probably like, no one really likes this guy. He's not very funny.
Zach Woods is funny. I've seen him in other things, and he's funny. He's in The League a little bit. Silicon Valley he's really funny in. He can be funny, but, I think Gabe was just not there. Gabe wore very thin after 2 full seasons.
Well, I mean, I think he's well written. I think he accomplishes exactly what the writers wanted, and I think
they definitely went for what they were.
Did a great job.
He got what they wanted.
Yeah, he was deeply unsettling. He's someone I would worry about shooting up the office if he gets denied. But
he may be the Scranton Strangler.
There's a pretty convincing theory. I fell down that rabbit hole before.
There is a Gabe's the Scranton Strangler theory. I hadn't heard that one.
Oh, dude, there's pretty damning evidence.
He's weird and creepy.
Well, no, the timeline of him coming
when
to town.
When he arrived, yeah,
it's very.
I feel like Toby's the Scranton Strangler. Toby will always be the Scranton Strangler in my eyes. I'm sure Andy just fired him after season 8, and he brought him back for that one day to make Aaron mad in season 9. Could you work for Gabe?
No. Nope. No. Flat no. Don't even need to expand.
Actually, I gave it a 5. I think I could, in the same way I could for Jan. He's not bad at his job in any way. He's just creepy and weird. So if you could not spend that much time around him, it would be fine. My problems with Gabe, they would never be with what he's asking me to do for my job or how he's managing me. It would be more how he approaches me and just generally interacting with him. Which I've had creepy and weird bosses who rub me that way, where it's like, okay, you're not asking me to do anything out of my purview. You're not making my job more difficult. You're just being weird anytime you're speaking directly to me. It's a hard balance.
I'd give it.
I could work for him more than I could work for Jan, I think.
They're about the same level, in my opinion, just differing reasons. I have zero respect for a person like that. He's kind of a little just pushover baby girl. He lets Joe bulldoze him. I
love it when Joe bulldozes him on the phone, but it's really the Jim that had recorded the audiobook.
That's fucking hilarious. And I mean, I gotta commend the commitment, but at the same time, it's just how much of a bootlicker are you, dude? Yeah. Jesus Christ, suck some more balls.
Yeah. I mean, he even gets pushed around by Jim and Pam when, he tries to tell them they're suspended, but he can't actually suspend them, so they just fucking go home anyways and get paid. Like he's very easily pushed around. You're right. But if he had actual authority, those things might not happen.
Those things would totally happen because no one would be like, I'm not going to take this dude who's hitting on the secretary and all that shit. I'm not going to take this dude seriously.
Okay.
I mean, look at him. And the only thing that I think is keeping... I have to go back. I had to say this because I just thought of it. About the Scranton Strangler thing. I don't think he has the hand strength.
That's true.
There's that. I just debunked my own theory.
He's got long fingers. Long fingers can wrap around things easily.
Yeah, but, I mean, if you can't, crush an egg with your bare hand, then I don't think you're going to strangle someone.
I'm done with Gabe. Let's move on to the regional managers.
Fuck it.
What everybody probably actually showed up for, right? We're going to start in Scranton, and we're going to briefly cover the other branches, but, Scranton's the main deal here. The first regional manager chronologically that we hear about is Henry Roston. This exists in a pre-show world. Don't know anything about him other than his name is Henry Roston.
Yeah.
And I saw it on Dunderpedia, so that's why I know he exists. The next after Henry Roston was Ed Truck. He was decapitated, had a funeral for a bird. It was the whole thing.
We had a funeral for a bird.
Pretty sure none of that's real.
You're not real, man.
Okay. And Ed Truck was replaced by Michael Scott, who was the regional manager from season 1 to season 7, and theoretically a little bit before season 1.
Well, he was 14 years, wasn't he?
Well, he had been with Dunder Mifflin for 14 years.
Oh, okay.
Because he was in sales before that.
That's right.
Best way to describe Michael Scott, he's a wild and crazy guy. Very difficult to pin down. He's sometimes racist, misogynist, other ists, but it's always with good intentions or just complete
ignorance,
absent-mindedness.
Yeah, yes. He doesn't have
He's not trying to hurt anyone's feelings. He's trying to either be funny or he just doesn't realize what he's saying is bad.
He doesn't have a malicious bone in his body.
No. He wants to be loved by everyone. He'll do anything possible to earn that love. He wants his employees to be afraid of how much they love him.
Oh, God. He's a trip, man.
He is.
That's really the best way to explain Michael Scott. I think everyone's very familiar with Michael Scott, though.
Yeah. His management style, the best I can describe it is he manages through his own inadequacy. Basically, the branch runs so efficiently because his employees have to be good enough at their jobs to keep their jobs, because he's constantly putting them in jeopardy of losing their jobs and getting the branch shut down. He was an excellent salesman, but he's a terrible manager of people. Because he just wants everybody to like him and will only tell people what they want to hear and do whatever it takes to make sure the person he's talking to likes him.
That totally 100%, and the fact that he views everyone as family to a creepy degree, he takes that too far. I totally get, enjoying the people you work with, looking at it as a family, quote unquote, but come on, man, he goes too far sometimes. He's very involved.
Yes. Much like Robert California, he invites everyone over for a dinner party. Shit goes off the wall. Listen to our episode on the dinner party.
Is that a two-parter?
No, I think we handled that in one part.
Oh, wow.
He's been at Dunder Mifflin for over 15 years. Season 5 is his 15-year anniversary party. He's, like we said, he started in sales, worked up to manager. I would find it difficult to work for Michael Scott. I gave him a 4.
Oof,
I rated him lower than Jan, lower than Gabe. Let's start with the actual work performance. Too many pointless meetings. They're really fun to watch as an outsider, as we're watching this happen. But that would be awful to actually be in those meetings every single day.
Oh, so boring.
You're constantly having to play off of his mood and trying not to upset him over something inconsequential or that he doesn't think is funny or whatever the fuck is going on with him. There's some little things that you could take advantage, like when he's got a sugar crash or he eats an entire family-sized pot pie and everybody goes home at 3 o'clock. I don't know that I would like to work extra hard to make up for his incompetence. And it wouldn't just be me having to work extra hard. Everyone in the office would have to work harder and make sure each other is working harder enough to make up for him. I don't know that I could do that.
Here's the
Jan
thing.
and Gabe, you don't have to do those things.
I don't think they really have to work all that hard. Like, even there, we have to work harder to make up for this, I don't think is all that hard.
Well, I don't think their jobs are that hard.
No, I think it's quite easy, and I think they could do without, that many people, yada yada. I could go down that road forever.
Yeah.
I'd give them a 5, just because I would know there's never a dull day at the office, and I would do my damnedest to kind of get in, not necessarily tight, but like learn him. Like Pam knows him, so I mean she's very good at kind of moving
Playing
through those waters. She's she's a voice of reason to him, lying to him. There you go. She's a voice of lies. That wench.
You would be managing his mood more than you would. You would also know that you're not ever in jeopardy of losing your job. Like, he's not going to fire you.
No.
The only way you're going to lose your job is if the whole branch, crashes and burns. Kevin still has a job under him. Andy still has a job under him. Both absolutely terrible at their jobs.
Right.
Ryan stays on for way longer than he should. I just think working for Michael Scott, it would be fun for like a week, in the same way that watching a train wreck is fun. But eventually you realize how horrible that is, and
that's not
that the rest of your career depends on this moron.
Yeah. I mean, I'm right there with you, but I'm someone that just...
The train wreck is not fun, but it's interesting to watch, right? You see how it happened. It's a phrase.
I get it. I'm just being an ass.
At some point with the train wreck, you realize people are dead, and at some point with Michael Scott, you realize the rest of your career depends on his idiocy.
Or, you could try to transfer out.
Yeah, Jim is constantly battling against that, right? When he goes to David Wallace about being co-managers, and he tries to keep Michael out of it because he thinks that's the best way to manage Michael's involvement, and Michael makes it worse for him.
So much worse.
Yeah. All right, so that brings us to Twitter, I think, because we've talked about everybody that is in the Twitter poll, and the Twitter poll was very simple, at APA something. Which manager from The Office would you most like to work for? The options were Michael Scott, David Wallace, Robert California, or other. Michael Scott wins in a landslide. 60.2%, because people are fucking stupid.
Whoa. We think you're super smart, Twitter followers.
Not if you voted for Michael Scott. I don't think you would want to work for Michael Scott over David Wallace, who is a bastion of stability and good management skills.
He helped run that company into the fudging ground.
Just
throwing that out there.
So did Michael Scott.
He had the most profitable branch.
Fine. That's because the show was based on it. There's no world where in the real world Michael Scott is running a profitable branch.
I disagree.
Okay.
I think his management, I think people find him endearing as shit, and he's so personable that people really, really like that.
David Wallace came in second with 19.5%. Robert California came in third with 16.1%, and other came in with 4.2%. There's still 11 hours left, so by the time you hear this, it'll be 4 days old, so there won't be 11 hours left anymore. But we got 118 votes.
That's a fat yeah, hell yeah.
That's a lot. People like The Office, I've learned.
People do like
Nick
The
Amell
Office.
From 10ish Podcast at the Nick Amell. Anyone who says Michael is full of shit, I agree. He's fun to watch, but he'd be horrible in real life. David Wallace is the only real choice. And I was kind of baiting people into that because Michael is clearly the most fun to watch, and he's the best character on The Office. But he's better to work for than Robert California probably, but there's no world where you would rather work day in, day out more so for Michael Scott than you would for David Wallace.
No, I mean, that's why I gave David a 10.
Right. Yeah. The Infectious Groove Podcast at infectious_pod. David Wallace by far. Dude let Andy get away with everything and still kept him on the payroll. That's the other thing about David Wallace. He's a good manager, and he also gives you your rope to hang yourself with. He gives you a lot of rope.
And that'd be tight if I could go for 3 months and still get paid.
Yeah. This is Jimmy at With Dummies. He's got a gif of some British thing. Not sure what that is, because that's not what we're talking about.
The Office.
Sorry, David Brent. Pop Cannon at Pop Cannon has a gif of Michael Scott saying, "I am Beyonce always," which that's fair for Michael. Self Shoots from the Hip podcast at Self Shoots. Perhaps people are responding as a joke, or perhaps people have never had a manager. And he's calling out the people voting for Michael Scott. Like, if you've never actually had a manager, then yeah, you would want Michael Scott as your manager. But if you had to work for Michael Scott every day, there's no way you pick him over David Wallace. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm just going to keep going back to it.
Yep.
Online Warriors podcast at Online Warriors 1. He's got a gift of Michael Scott holding up his world's best boss mug that he bought himself. I think that pretty much sums it up. Doctor of Doomonomics at Franco2918. D'Angelo fake juggling for life, he says. Which we haven't gotten to D'Angelo yet, but that is a worse choice than Robert California, I think.
So fucking bad.
Fat Drunken Stupid podcast at FDS Podcast 7. There's a gif of Robert California saying he's a fucking Lizard King. And Infectious Groove responds there that he has a theory that Robert California is actually just another alias for the character played by James Spader on The Blacklist, and I disagree.
Wholeheartedly.
Yeah. Michael Malash at MPaulM 2002. California is too terrifying and Wallace would be too boring. But if you have to work for this person, you want to work for the boring person.
Yeah, I mean,
sorry.
100%.
I would much rather... So at my current job, for the first 7 years of it, I worked for a boring person who was very easy to get along with, very agreeable, gave me directives that were easy to understand, explained himself well. Now, somebody else is in between me and him, and he's closer to a Robert California, and it's exhausting.
It's exhausting.
I don't know that he's closer to a Robert California, but he's maybe closer to a Jan. I don't know.
Either way, he should not have that attached to him. The title is exhausting.
Right. You would always pick David Wallace to be your real life manager. Always go for boring, because boring, you know what you're going to get every time you go into a conversation with him.
Right. Especially hands-off boring.
Right. You never know what you're going to get when you go into a conversation with Robert California.
No.
And that is, for somebody who has anxiety, that is a very bad place to be.
Yeah, 100%. I didn't even think about that.
Lady Justice Podcast at Lady Justice Pod, tags at Son of Ben, who says this poll was made for you. Benson at Son of Ben. Only one answer suitable, although the Lizard King comes in a close second. I hope he's talking about David Wallace, because David Wallace is the acceptable answer. Charlie Nickel at Charlie_Core. Andy Bernard. Get a left field vote here. He may go sailing and not show up for months, which I'd be okay with that.
That would be tight. Yeah.
Yeah. Not getting in my face.
The way he acted though when he got back.
Yeah, he came back in full douche mode, which I wouldn't like.
Slap the shit out of him.
Yeah. Loot Before You Leap at LBYL Podcast. David Brent. Again, don't know who that is. We're not talking about that show. This is a American Office podcast only.
Don't bring that shit here.
So check out our polls on Twitter at APA something. You can follow Nick at alone_podcast on Twitter. We've got more managers to get through though.
We do.
Thank you for everyone who participated, even though most of you are dumb. 60% of you, actually.
You boner. So mean. You're being a real Ryan right now. All right.
After Michael Scott, we have a brief period of Childs Minor as acting manager in season 5 for 4 episodes. This is like in the middle of Michael Scott, I guess. Childs took over from Michael. We already kind of described who Charles was and his management style, so we don't have to go back over that. But he took over from Michael when he couldn't have his figs at his 15-year anniversary party, and Michael quit to start the Michael Scott Paper Company.
Yeah, I think he did okay.
Yeah, he did fine.
He was suitable.
He was very diligent, tad vague, as I said before. Still don't know what the hell a rundown is. Like, somebody, get at us. We need to know what a rundown is.
He was that, and he was a little unproductive in the sense that he had an entire soccer game outside. And someone got hurt
I don't know that was
on
an
the
entire
clock.
soccer game. I mean, Jim kicked a ball at Phyllis's face pretty early in the game.
Either way, all those people on payroll, bro.
I guess Jim didn't kick the ball. Jim ducked away from the ball.
What do you do? I like how he blames Jim too. It's like, kicking. You were rocketing a ball at my face. Yeah, fuck you.
I disagree. I think he made necessary decisions while he was there. He changed the naming situation with the Kellys He never got distracted by Kelly Kapoor's "Yes, Charles, you needed me." Like I think he kept his nose to the grindstone and just tried to get things done and tried to bring this completely and utterly mismanaged branch under some modicum of decorum. And that's a very difficult thing to do in the Dunder Mifflin Scranton branch.
He only was there for 4 days. Sleeves.
Yeah.
As a manager. Acting.
No, I think it was like 3 weeks, I think. They said in the Michael Scott Paper Company episode. So he left as acting manager. He was still with the company at corporate, but he left as acting manager when the Michael Scott Paper Company was bought out and Michael was reinstated. I could still work for Charles. It's still a 6 in my book. All the same reasons as before. I just don't know that I could fake an interest in soccer. That would be my problem.
I mean, I would just throw that shit on YouTube. Be like, cool.
Pull the Andy Bernard, yeah.
Exactly. I mean, that is smooth sailing, buddy.
I would try and take a few extra notes than what Andy did, because when he got questioned a little deeper, who's your favorite player, like, he had no answers.
I would buy a jersey and memorize that dude's stats and call it a day.
Yep.
Like, who's the best scorer of all time? Well, obviously, fucking...
Pele.
Yeah, Pele. That's my dude. Who has the worst teeth in soccer? Fucking Pele. I mean, that's my guy, but needs to go to the dental.
So that brings us to Michael Scott of the Michael Scott Paper Company. Again, season 5, 4 episodes here. Michael Scott with Michael Scott Paper Company, he's decisive, he's proactive, he's ruthless. He's a ruthless businessman, stealing clients from his former company. He works as part of the team. He's very helpful to his 2 salespeople. He's a great coach to the 2 salespeople. He's energetic, keeps everybody pumped up in the morning with their morning cheer. Task-oriented. He's got great motivational quotes up on the board. Just really good environment at the Michael Scott Paper Company once they get rolling.
But they quickly come to a halt because he has no business plan.
He has Ryan's business plan, which Ryan
is trash.
Must not have gotten very good grades in business school. Doesn't know to use variable costs.
Yeah.
Come on.
A dummy.
Could you work for Michael Scott Paper Company, Michael Scott?
Yeah, I would actually enjoy that more than Dunder Mifflin Michael Scott.
Exactly. I could absolutely work for Michael Scott Paper Company Michael Scott. I gave him a 7, which is, I think, 2 points, or like 3 points higher than I gave him for Dunder Mifflin. Yeah, I gave him a 4 for Dunder.
Yeah, and I gave him a 5. So, I mean, yeah, that's reasonable. I'd be willing to go with that.
Yeah. I think in a startup, you need Michael's energy. It's perfect there. It's absolutely awful for your run-of-the-mill 9 to 5, but in a startup where everybody's, trying to make things work, you need Michael's constant energy and joking and loose-fitting demeanor.
Right, you need someone that's willing to push the pile. You need a pile pusher.
You need the mindless optimism and youthful exuberance of Michael Scott.
Perfect way to say it.
When you create something from nothing, you need that. If you had a boring manager at a startup, you're not going to make it past the first week. David Wallace wouldn't be the best manager at a startup. I mean, he pulled off Suck It, but we don't know who else was involved in that. You need a hype man there. And David Wallace, he's not a hype man.
His kid was. He had his kid
definitely was.
The drummer hype man.
He just played that song, and that got everybody going.
Everybody was like, get this fucking kid out of here. What do I got to do? Pay $5 for this shit? Okay. We'll all donate, and we'll buy out Suck It.
And you suck it!
And you suck it!
Suck it!
Suck it!
Suck it!
And you suck it!
So as we said, Michael Scott sells Michael Scott Paper Company back to Dunder Mifflin, gets jobs for himself and Pam and Ryan, and is reinstated as regional manager of Dunder Mifflin. For a brief time. He does win. Absolutely win. For a brief time. And then a curveball is thrown. We get co-managers in season 6. Michael Scott, Jim Halpert.
Yeah, I liked this arc. I thought it was great.
I actually did too. Michael, back to being regular old Michael, as we discussed before. This was our first chance to see serious Jim. No more prank Jim.
I take a different way
better,
home, man.
But at some point you have to grow up, and serious Jim, co-manager Jim, brought that in.
Yeah, that, and I think he was even funnier. Like, when he would kind of freak out a little bit, like when Michael was dating Pam's mom. Like, that was so fucking great. Then take a different way home, man. Like, he snapped a couple different times.
He had this extra stress on him that he didn't know how to deal with because he couldn't, let that stress out through pranking Dwight and playing games in the office and things like that. So you get that outburst. He had another outburst when when Dunder Mifflin was going under and Michael wanted to play the murder mystery game. He's got another outburst there because he doesn't know what to do with this stress anymore because he can't fall into that old role of doing the things he does with Dwight. I think managerial wise, they balanced each other out really well, and it made this like oddly efficient management style that you wouldn't expect. Where would the Catholic Church be with two popes? But honestly, once people started taking Jim seriously as a manager, the two of them together were able to run the branch well, I thought.
I agree 100%. Like, I think it's a great model.
Once he locked Ryan in that closet and everybody took him seriously, everything was fine.
Right. I mean, he took care of the problem child, unlike pretty much any other manager would. Like, he was pretty proactive about Ryan in a way that was not.
It took him like 3 episodes to get to that point.
Right, instead of an entire season.
And then when Saber takes over, Joe didn't like the idea of 2 people doing one job because then they only had to each do half a job. So she put the kibosh on it, and some changes were made that we'll get into. But the co-managers were no more. I personally wouldn't mind working under the co-managers. I know Oscar had a problem with it. Dwight definitely had a problem with it, but that was more about Jim. I gave the co-managers an 8.
That is also
which is my co-managers. Yeah, that's my second level after David Wallace.
I think that might be my second too.
Jim balances out most of Michael's weaknesses, and he's going to actively help the branch look good for senior management. Unlike Michael, who's kind of in his own world, Jim will make decisions that make the branch look good. Michael is still there to add some fun and lightheartedness back into the day-to-day life, but it's not so overbearing because it's only Michael all the time. Jim, he was in the employee's shoes before this, so he understands the battles that they're fighting every day, with conference room meetings or Michael's stupidity, and he can kind of help bring Michael down when he starts going off the rails, like with Mousetown or whatever the hell it was.
Mousetown?
He had like the fucking Tube City. That's what it was.
Oh,
he
yeah.
He had like the hamster tubes all in his office.
See, yeah, I think he'd be a good balancing act.
Yes.
I think that's pretty much.
He was a good balancing act. I've actually advocated for co-managers at jobs that I've had in the past. It's actually not the worst thing in the world because, as you see in the case of Dunder Mifflin, different people have different skills, and it can be good to combine those skills and use them where necessary and have people share certain responsibility, because managing people is a difficult thing, and managing people versus managing workload are 2 completely separate skill sets. So if you could split those things and have different people doing them, I think it's beneficial.
Yeah, highly efficient.
Mm-hmm.
Well, not necessarily in the payroll sense of things, but I think if you...
It depends. Yeah, you would have to work it out in a way that it would make sense there.
I think their model equates to efficiency.
Yes.
I think people are getting more done with Jim as the buffer,
right?
Which, increases productivity, increases sales, yada, yada. But at the same time, it's still expensive.
Yes, it can be. But you should also, like you said, increase productivity, increase sales. You should be making more money so you could afford to spend more money at that point, hopefully. Which takes us to Jimothy Halpert. For half an episode in season 6 was the regional manager. It was short-lived. He was goofy, but he was stern. He does his best to keep all the employees working and not get distracted by Michael's stupidity. Jim, he started in sales at Dunder Mifflin, got promoted co-manager, was handling day-to-day operations as co-manager, and then he was briefly promoted to the sole regional manager. So that was Jim's kind of career path there.
It was an easy peasy one.
Yeah.
He did not have to try all that hard.
Not at all. And it showed us numerous times that he didn't have to try hard.
He's just an extremely likable guy.
So Joe gave them the option, 1 go to sales, 1 go to manager. Michael took the sales job because he could make more money in sales, and since he was the senior employee, Joe let him make the decision. And then after, like I said, half a day, Michael was fed up with being a salesperson because nobody did like the salesy stuff that they used to when he was a salesperson. So they just swapped back. And Jim also realized that he couldn't be Goofy Jim anymore, and he didn't really like that. He had to be actually really responsible, and that's not fun.
Right. He could do his thing and make more money.
Right. Exactly. How would you have worked under just Jim?
Probably pretty well. He seemed serious enough, and he seemed like he at least was trying to get shit done, and he kind of put a stop to Michael's bullshit in the bull pit or whatever the fuck they call it.
Can't just sit there.
Right. So I'd enjoy working for just Jim. I'd probably give him a 7.
I gave him a 6. I would have a harder time working for just Jim than the co-managers because, Jim tries hard not to let Michael distract you, and for me, it would just be hard to take Jim seriously after I watched him spend the previous 7 to 8 years actively distracting people in the way Michael's trying to now.
That's a great point. All the pranks and shit.
Right. So, like, if I would feel like if I goofed off for 5 minutes and he called me on it, it would take a lot for me not to tell him to fuck off because all of the shit he pulled with Dwight or all the time he spent at reception. And that's, what Ryan tries to do during the co-manager stint, and he puts a stop to it there. But like, it would be hard for me to do that, to take him seriously.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, it's a really good point.
All right, so sad time. Michael leaves. Now we need a new manager. First up is D'Angelo Vickers for like 3 episodes in season 7.
Sorry, I had to fucking do it.
Played tremendously by Will Ferrell.
Love him.
He's an odd man, got a Southwest vibe, a bit of a shyster. We don't really know what's going on with him. As a manager, he keeps a tight inner circle. He's kind of a misogynist, but not with the good intentions or the obliviousness that Michael had before him. Like, he actively tries to keep women out of his inner circle, and doesn't take their ideas and opinions seriously.
He certainly thinks lesser of them.
Yes.
Instead of being, like, inadvertently misogynistic.
Right. Angela points out at one point that, he's had meetings with all the other department heads, but when he talks to accounting, he talks to Oscar. And he's not the department head, Angela is. So that's kind of fucked up.
I'd probably try to talk to Oscar, too, because Angela's a bit of a bitch.
Well, yeah. I mean,
Kevin's just very dumb.
But yeah, nobody wants to talk to Kevin. Actually, he liked Kevin.
Yeah,
Kevin had him figured out, man. He's in the inner circle. If you get on his good side, you get in that inner circle, you're all set.
I do not like that.
No, that's terrible. What would you say his management style is?
Garbage. Looney fucking tune. Yeah. He's got he's got a maggot on his sleeve, and he shaves his face with mace in the dark.
It's the inner circle management style. If you're in the inner circle, it doesn't matter what you do, whatever you do is right. And if you're not in the inner circle, whatever you do is wrong, and you should be more like the people in the inner circle. But fucking Gabe is in the inner circle, so how good could it really be, right?
Not good, bro. Not good. Kevin.
I mean, Kevin's at least a cool hang. Plays the drums, sings. He's so funny. He eats a lot. Singer. He's always got the best snacks.
Yeah, but he won't share them with you. Fuck That's that true.
Guy. I would at least want to hang out with Kevin. You don't want to hang out with Gabe.
I'd want to go to like a all-you-could-eat buffet with Kevin and just see what happens. It's
like playing the M&M game in the Office Olympics, where it was just he stuffs as many M&Ms as he can in his mouth.
Flunkerton. That's what.
I'd like to play some Flunkerton.
I'll get down.
So before Dunder Mifflin, he's just kind of a grifter. No one actually knows where he was before. He only got this job because he saved one of Joe's dogs. But he set up like the kidnapping or danger or whatever it was for the dogs. So like he just worked himself. He weaseled his way into it, I guess. And then he lost. Yeah. He lost the job when he was injured in a freak dunking accident and just never came back. I mean, he came back for like 5 minutes out of the hospital when he wasn't supposed to.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's brain damaged for the rest of his life. Because he said he could dunk from the free throw line. Like Mike. He talked himself up way too much.
He could not. Even off Kevin's back. Couldn't do it.
He's a fucking liar. He just lied about everything.
Yes. I wouldn't be able to work for D'Angelo. I give him a 4. I don't like the idea that my work has no impact on how my boss treats me or if they like me, which was clearly what was going on with the inner circle. Like, he picked those people and that's it. He also didn't seem like he had a good work ethic. He tried to lie and cheat his way into doing everything.
Right.
I got a question. It's going to blow your mind.
Hit me.
Is Donald Trump D'Angelo Vickers?
Dude, no.
I don't think he could juggle like D'Angelo, that's for sure.
I don't think he could dunk like D'Angelo. I don't think he could put the cake down like D'Angelo.
This is a for real challenge. Donald Trump, let me see you do the free throw line dunk like Mike. I think you can do it.
Let me see you can put the cake down, homie. Do you have the willpower to put that down?
You can jump off of somebody's back if you need to. I'm sure one of your GOP guys will be there.
Yeah, Mike Pence will be right there on the ground.
Mike Pence,
jump
Lindsey Graham would be there for it. Any of these guys.
He would cup your balls while he did it. Fucking Lindsey Graham.
Donald Trump, you're on blast. Let me see the dunk.
Dang.
I'll vote for you if you can dunk from the free throw line.
I can dunk better than any president that's ever lived, ever, and Barack Obama was black.
So what would you think working for D'Angelo would be like?
Dude, I give him a 2.
Yeah.
Just because he is so...
Wow, that's bad.
Well, he's terrible, man. He's fucking garbage, and he's so disruptive, and he's going to cost that company $1 bajillion. Fuck that guy.
Well, yeah, that's probably a workman's comp claim, too, because the
100%.
basketball hoop was there.
Yeah, I mean, he was the guy in charge, too. He sanctioned the game.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all his fault. So fuck him. I'd give him a 2.
Yep. All right. So after D'Angelo injures himself, never to return, we get Dwight K. Schrute, acting manager for one episode in season 7. Dwight is best described as stern, weird, or authoritarian. Authoritarian. And I think he's authoritarian, but with good intentions, if that makes sense. He's not a micromanager. He's got a strict set of standards that the employees must follow while completing their jobs.
He has a weird set of ideals and stuff that totally shape every single one of the policies he enacts. Mm. Not saying they're ineffective.
The copier codes may be ineffective.
They're just invasive.
Invasive. That's a good word. Yes. So before becoming acting manager, he's a top salesman at Dunder Mifflin for more than 8 years. He was the assistant to the regional manager. He was the assistant regional manager, and then he got promoted to acting regional manager when Jim turned down Joe Bennett because the office was working so smoothly with no manager there. And he lost the job because he shot a gun in the office and Joe found out and demoted him.
Somehow got to keep his job. I think that should say something about how badass Dwight was, very valuable. But
and also Joe's still a bit of a bad decision maker.
Yeah, I mean, we did establish that.
Would you have been able to work for acting manager Dwight? Season 7 acting manager Dwight.
No. Nope. Isn't that when he starts splitting the toilet paper?
No, that's when he's the building manager.
I thought that coincided.
No, the splitting the toilet paper was only building manager Dwight. He also installed the motion sensor lights. It wasn't the thing he did as acting manager was he put in the 21-digit copier codes that change every day. And Kevin could never get it right.
Schrute Bucks
and Stanley Nichols. I think the Schrute Bucks actually came at the end of season 3 when Michael thought he was going to get the corporate job, Jan's job. But he didn't actually, and he gave Dwight the recommendation, so Dwight thought he was going to become regional manager and didn't because Michael didn't get that job.
You are so good.
I am.
Breadth of knowledge. I was just testing you. Totally.
You're on the same page the whole time.
Yeah.
Acting manager Dwight, I gave a 5. I wouldn't have liked the strict rules, just to be working at Dunder Mifflin. The copier codes would have been annoying as shit. But he was also trying really hard to be a dictator because he wanted to impress Joe. He was out there working for the branch to succeed.
Yeah, he's definitely working really hard. He wanted to be the best for sure.
And that's something that I don't know that I could say for Robert California.
No, I don't think he really gave a shit.
No. So that brings us to Creed Bratton, acting manager.
Huh.
Which I could best describe Creed Bratton as bafflingly abnormal.
Yeah, with a weird sense of wisdom.
Yes.
I get a lot of that from Creed.
He's got old man wisdom for sure. He's completely off the rails as a manager. He tries to make up his own acronyms. Bobati. Just out of nothing. What's the first B stand for? So he worked his way. He was in quality assurance at Dunder Mifflin before. He had previously stolen the identity of the original Creed Bratton. He's a career criminal, and he got this job by just being the most senior employee after Dwight was demoted for shooting a gun in the office.
Somehow. They obviously did not know his background.
He was ousted after the search party found a new manager in Robert, California, so that's good.
I wouldn't blame them one lick.
No, so I love Creed as a character. He's one of my favorite characters in The Office. Every scene with him is perfection, but there is absolutely no way I could work for him. He gets a 3.
No, he gets a 1.
Which is tied for the lowest score. Yeah, he should probably be a 1.
Fuck him. Yeah, it wouldn't work.
It's another one of these situations where it would be fun for like a day, and then reality would set in, and you would realize he's going to kill the company in some spectacular way, and you don't want to be a part of that.
Right. Like, I mean, it'd be fun.
Like he's going to try and set the building on fire for insurance money or something by week 3.
Right. And I mean, a couple people would die, but that's okay. That's just that Creed.
It is what it is.
Yeah. Fuck you. It is what it is.
Yeah, you're in a paper company, so you can't set it on fire. So after Creed, we get the search committee to find a new regional manager. Joe Bennett is tired of all the management training or turnover. So just quick, who's on the search committee and who were some of the candidates that they were looking at?
We get Toby, Gabe, the Terror, and Jim.
Gabe the Terror. That is a great nickname. And Gabe is replaced by Kelly after he didn't give Andy a fair shot at an interview because he was in love with Aaron or something.
Which, I mean, Andy reciprocates to Dwight.
That's true. So let's talk about some of the candidates. Who are your favorite candidates?
Whoever. I mean, I loved Ray Romano's character. And
I called him Anxiety Guy.
Anxiety Guy and the Finger Lake guy. I was
Finger Lakes
supposed
guy,
to be out at the Finger Lakes.
Yeah, my family's probably wondering where I was.
Yeah, snuck off. I went to the Finger Lakes.
We also got part 5 of part 3 of the Plan Guy, played by Will Arnett, which I like to think that it's actually Joe Bluth, and if he were hired, he would have had Dunder Mifflin selling bees in like a week.
Oh, dude. I love that little snapshot. I think it's fucking great. I like to think of him as the tech from, what is it, the CAT scan tech from Parks and Rec. Like, I think that fits really well.
You got a great oven. Go triplets right off the bat if you wanted. Robert California was interviewed, as we already talked about him. Daryl Philbin was interviewed. We haven't gotten to him yet. Andy Bernard was interviewed. If you had to hire one of these candidates, who would you have gone with?
Probably.
You're Jim. You're in charge of the search party. Who are you picking?
Probably Andy. Like, wow. He strikes me as the most qualified and the least. You don't have to be a good salesman to be a good manager.
Right.
Like, it doesn't always coincide.
That's what Ryan advocated for several times. That he was bad at sales, but he could manage salespeople, and he wasn't good at that either, though.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to think as my management days, I'd like to think I was pretty decent, just not very good at, anxiety-filled situations.
Yeah, that's rough. I would have picked Daryl.
Really?
He's got management
completely
experience.
Unprepared for the interview, and he thought he was going to get it just personally based off workplace relationship?
Daryl's record, I think, speaks for itself. He wasn't prepared. I don't give a shit about interviews. I am not like an interview person. I think it's all a lie anyways. It's a lie on both sides. You're asking questions that the person answering them is lying about. So why are we even going through this?
It's like, how good can you lie about it, though?
Exactly.
That's the question.
That's exactly what it is. And I think, Daryl has management experience. He's been responsible for over 1 billion paper accessories or something. He knows the business. He knows the job. He's seen the branch run poorly. He's seen the branch run well. He's been there a long time. He would be the best at that job.
You've convinced me. I think you're right.
Andy was not a good employee, ever. Like, even he was a bad salesman. I think he was a bad employee too.
Terrible salesman.
And part of that is because, he's a trust fund kid who had no work ethic. Daryl doesn't have that.
Self-admitted.
Andy even, he goes into the interview saying, I'm going to put this on my list for the maid to pick me up at the store. Like, because that's how he got things when he was a kid.
Such a boner.
Yeah. So, okay, after the search party, they land on Robert, California. And he is only the manager of the Scranton branch for the cold open of season 8, episode 1, and it's really only for like 3 seconds of that cold open. He's a free spirit, he's peculiar, but he's very absent in this role. He took one look around, flew to Florida, and talked Joe into making him CEO. We already talked about his work as CEO. He drove to Florida, maybe.
I'm pretty sure
he's rich. He's rich, so I figured he walked. Or he flew.
He fucking walked. He
definitely
has
didn't
time.
walk.
Whatever.
Yeah.
You can stop and, walk B&Bs and it'd be tight. It'd be great.
So that brings us to Andrew Baines Bernard, part 1 in season 8. Andrew is upbeat. He's engaging. He pushes boundaries a little bit with his employees, but he's nowhere near as bad as Michael in that arena.
He's way more passive. He's like a Diet Coke of Michael.
Yes.
He's like a Diet Coke Zero vanilla of Michael.
He's a very calm and in season 8, just season 8, he's very calm. He's very helpful. He has a little bit of trouble motivating employees, but he does his best work when he's not there, which is kind of a problem. But he also tries to motivate his employees, to get them on his side, to get them to believe in him as a manager, which is a lot to be said. A lot of managers will come in and they're just going to be like, I don't care if you like me or if I motivate you, you have to do your job.
Or you'll respect me because I'm your manager.
Right, exactly. And Andy wasn't that. Andy tried to earn it in ways he thought he could. He went to Cornell. He was a salesman at the Stanford branch and then at the Scranton branch. And he was promoted by Robert, California when Robert became CEO.
And he has a million nicknames. That's pretty cool.
Boner Jams.
He called me Ace. Because I aced on my test.
Called me Buzz. Got straight B's. So he lost his job when he went to Florida to go bring back Aaron, and Nellie sat in his desk and just never left. He kind of came back and spiraled completely out of control.
100%.
Yeah.
He came back like a vagabond. Like a straight up vagabond douchebag.
Could you work for Andy in season
8? Until he left. Well, even while he was gone, like that'd be pretty cool. But the second he came back, like that pompous assness that he.
Well, so this is just season 8. He hasn't gone on the boat trip yet.
Okay, then yes.
Yeah, I think I agree. I gave him an 8, which is the second ranking right under David Wallace. He was very stable. He did some fun things. They had the work bus. They went to Gettysburg. He got a tattoo on his ass for his employees. The fun never overshadowed their actual work, though, like it did so often with Michael.
Well, it coincided with the work. Like, he came up with crazier shit so they would be more productive.
Right, exactly.
Like, getting the tattoo done. Like, they got so much work done in one day to get a tattoo, to tattoo him with anything they want. And he ended up loving it, which I thought was pretty cool.
Right. And I just feel like after at least 8 years of turmoil, it would be nice to have this milquetoast stable manager for a little bit.
Milquetoast. Oh man, that was pretty good. Yeah, that's a good way to sum Andy up.
Boring is not always bad. And in Andy's season 8 case, boring is what the branch needed at the time.
100%. They were there. They just needed someone to inspire them at points.
Yeah. If they needed extra work done, they needed to be there to make sure they could push them.
Right.
And that brings us to Nellie Bertram. As we just said, she sat in Andy's desk and refused to leave. She was manager for like 6 episodes in season 8, I want to say. Personality descriptions for most of these managers are just kind of getting into variations of odd or weird.
Yeah.
And Nellie fits right in there.
Super weird. She's like a cross between Joe and Michael.
Yeah, and I think like later in the run of The Office, they just stopped developing new characters and just made them weird in a different way. It's like, here's a new character, she's weird this way. Here's a new character, he's weird this way. It's like, all right, cool, but like let's have some not weird people come in maybe.
Right, they just all have like 1,000-yard stares and say weird ass shit, man. Yeah. She's very weird.
Also, she's British. So she's British weird.
And she thinks she's pretty hot shit, but I don't think so.
She does have what I like to call an employee first management style. She comes in, first act, give everyone raises and bonuses, which, great, fine. She's friends with Joe Bennett. She was part of the candidate pool after Michael left during the search party. She became special projects manager for Sabre, tried to run the Sabre store and the Pyramid tablet, which was just a train wreck. Yes. You know, like I said, she got the job because after the Sabre store became a dumpster fire and the project was killed by senior management, she went to Scranton and just sat in Andy's desk.
I gotta give it to her. She certainly is assertive.
Yeah.
But then she totally had no idea what the fuck to do.
Oh, absolutely not. She had no idea how to actually run the branch. Robert California he liked her initiative and just decided he was going to let it play out, which I think that gives more credence to why we couldn't work for Robert California. If just like anybody can sit anywhere and now they have that job. Like, so you're telling me Kevin can sit in Jim's chair and now he's a salesperson? We're going to let that fly?
Right. We'll just see how it goes. I don't really care how it affects anyone.
Yep. And that's what I mean by like, he's a micro manager. He didn't actually care about the job performance of anyone, but he wanted to mess with everyone's lives.
Yeah, I'm more and more on your side the more you talk about it.
So Andy doesn't come back for several days, loses his job to Nellie. And then she lost her job once Andy convinced David Wallace to reacquire Dunder Mifflin, and he also reinstated Andy as regional manager, and Nellie was, I guess it's a demotion to special projects manager for the Scranton branch, but would you consider that a demotion?
No, it sounds like a made-up position for her.
Well, a made-up position, it seems like a much better job, and I would say probably not much of a pay cut. Like, she's probably making the salary that Jim made as co-manager, as special projects manager, right?
Oh, most definitely.
Especially because she knows Joe well.
Especially with the launch of a project. That's a big fucking deal. She might be making more.
And in that role, like, you get to make up your own job because the job doesn't exist. You get to choose which projects you're working on, get to create projects, and also you don't have to manage people, which managing people is fucking awful.
Yeah, been there. It's not the greatest.
No.
So, I mean, that sounds pretty tight, actually.
I could have worked for Nellie. I gave her a 6.
Yeah, I could have worked for her. I just would try to lay so low. Like, I wouldn't want to be in her kumbaya bullshit. I gave her a 5.
So here's the thing. I wouldn't have liked the coup and how she unseated Andy. I would have been on Jim's side there. But if that bonus check and the raise hit my bank account, I'm totally cool with it.
Hell yeah.
Because Andy wasn't going to give me a raise.
You do you know. You do you, whatever. Got no issues. I'm going to stay out of it. But give me the money.
And once she took the job for that brief period, the office was pretty stable again. You know, she didn't always understand what was going on, but she also didn't actively fuck anything up, which is nice. She also made great strides to try and understand her staff. You know, she made engaging conversations with Pam and Toby and like tried to genuinely understand what they're working through. She had tacos with Daryl. You take somebody and you compare her to like Charles Minor, who he came in and just tried to make all of the employees fit under him instead of trying to understand them in any way. I would prefer Nellie over that any day of the week.
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't take the neuroticism.
Yeah, that'd be strange. But you know, there's not ever going to be a magician in the office, which would be good.
Yeah, fuck magicians.
All right, we got a few more here. Andrew Bernard comes back in season 9. He was reinstated after David Wallace bought out Dunder Mifflin, but this time he wasn't quite as stable as he was the first time. He was vindictive, he was flaky, made a lot of decisions based off of his ego or opinions rather than what was actually good for the branch.
He went full dirtbag. Let's just be honest here, Calvin. Come on.
He absolutely did. I'm trying to be nice to Andrew Bernard.
Fuck that guy. Bunner champ, my ass. More like dick champ of dicks.
It was a complete dick to Aaron. And then he left for 3 months on the boat trip, and then he eventually, the reason he left the job was to pursue, quote unquote, being a star. And on his way out, he shit on David Wallace's car, so he didn't have to worry about having that job to fall back on.
Yeah, no kidding. And then he went and bombed and became a fucking viral video.
He did, but that eventually led him to a job at the Cornell admissions office, which was really perfect for him.
I mean, it worked out.
Would you have been able to work for season 9, Andy?
The times he was gone, yes.
Yeah.
But like I said earlier, the second he came back, no, sir.
Yeah, like I said, it would have been harder to work for Andy this time around. I gave it a 6, which is 2 points lower than last time. I wouldn't have respected how he earned the job. It felt kind of like D'Angelo, sneaking, saving the dogs under Joe's face like that. I don't like people who sneak their way into jobs. Like, just earn a fucking job.
Usually they're not qualified, so it's something where...
Correct. And I also didn't like how he treated people based on his own personal feelings towards them when he came back. Like, I wouldn't have respected that you treat Nellie like shit because she took your job last time.
Well, she's trying to adopt a kid. Like, that's bogus,
she's trying to
man.
adopt a kid. She's trying to do good at this new job that she has. Like, she's trying to make it work, and he's just a complete dick.
A complete and utter dick.
That brings us to Kevin Malone.
Bring me that Chilean. 10 out of 10.
He was manager for an hour in season 9, episode 2, Roy's Wedding. He's stupid and oafish, as we've mentioned several times before. Like I said, he won the manager position for about an hour off of Pam's chore wheel that she created that had very few chores on it. He didn't really do anything during his hour as manager, so there's not much to go off of. But I think I could have worked for Kevin for an hour.
Oh, yeah, for an hour. Totally. He didn't burn the office to the ground, so totally, buddy.
I gave Kevin an 8 for his hour. I could work for Kevin for an hour. Cut it off there.
Yep. That is super fair. I had him originally as a 4, but I didn't really think about it just being an hour. So I give him a 7, 8, something like that.
And that brings us to the final regional manager of the Dunder Mifflin Scranton branch, Dwight K. Schrute. For the end of season 9. He's a bit softer this time around. He seemed to have learned some of the lessons from the last time he held the job. Still got a bit of an authoritarian code going on, but not nearly as bad. He's got the bank doors and the steam. He is still cutthroat manager. Like, he's willing to do what needs to be done, cuts people loose almost immediately if they were bad at their jobs. No problems, just firing Toby, Kevin, and I guess Stanley retired. So, just Toby and Kevin straight out the door when he took over, which, great.
It worked out for both of them.
It did. Did it work out for Toby? He's living with like 8 people in London or something.
I think he's
trying to write the great American novel.
It's perfect for Toby.
I guess.
It's perfect for Toby. Depression, anxiety.
Well, that's true. That's where he fits.
Yeah, fuck you, Toby.
And the show ends with Dwight still holding the regional manager position. All of his dreams have come true. Would you have worked for season 9, Dwight?
100%. In fact, wow. I gave him a 9.
Wow.
Yes, his authoritarian complex is greatly diminished, but the fact that, when Pam and Jim decide to leave together, that was an extremely good managerial decision. I think, he handled that exceptionally well, and I think once he didn't have to prove himself to anybody else, like once he was in that top dog spot, he was able to kind of let go loose of that fucking bullheadedness and actually just do That's it fair. And do it well.
I gave him a 6, but I think you just talked me up to a 7. Nice. It would definitely be easier to work for him the second time around. It would be hard to take him seriously, but immediately trimming the fat. Sorry, Kevin, for that. It gives the impression that he's here to stay and he needs to be taken seriously. The authoritarian tendencies, they'd be hard to get past, and I would probably start looking for a new job, but I wouldn't completely hate it.
Well, you got to think he's certainly a man of his word. He's always wanted to get rid of Kevin, and he's always wanted to get rid of Toby. And the fact that Kevin wasn't totally devastated by the loss of the job, he might have done Kevin a favor, in my opinion.
That's true. So let's real quick. We're getting close to 2 hours, but we've got a few more things to go through, and this is just gonna be 2 hours. What do you got to do? It's fucking quarantine.
I gotta work.
No, not you. I meant the people listening. Sorry.
Hopefully you guys gotta work too, because you'll listen to this at work and it'll make your day so much better.
Exactly. Listen to it on 1.5 speed. I don't care.
No, listen to it at 1 speed so you can hear all my fuck ups. in real time.
So, for some other branches, first we're introduced to Craig, who's the regional manager of the Albany, New York branch in season 2, episode 16, Valentine's Day. Craig seems somehow dumber than Michael, couldn't really read the room when meeting with David Wallace for that first time. I wouldn't have liked being around Craig.
No, he has zero common sense, and he thinks he's hard. He thinks he's hard as fuck and just the shit, and he is not. He thinks he's hot snot. He's cold boogers, man.
He had no presentation prepared for David Wallace. He tries to, throw Michael under the bus for sleeping with Jan, and it just wasn't a good look for Craig right off the bat.
He reminds me of Sewage Joe from Parks and Rec. Also total scumbag.
Then we got Dan Gore of the Buffalo, New York branch. Again, we meet him in season 2, episode 16, Valentine's Day. Dan was there.
That's about it. Like this guy, when I saw the name, I'm like, who the fuck is this guy? So I had to look up, a bit of information about him, and it's like, okay, I guess he was there, but he literally
took me a really long time to track down what his name was and what branch he worked for.
I totally did not notice. I've watched The Office at least 10 times, every episode, all the way through, and I did not notice him. He did not stand out in any way.
No, he does absolutely nothing. Because I had to look so hard for him, that's why I wanted to make sure that we covered these other branches, because I went out of my way to research and figure out who these people were.
You're so good, bro. You're so good. I probably would have totally skipped them.
That brings us to the fourth member at the Valentine's Day meeting with David Wallace, and that's Josh Porter from Stamford, Connecticut. We also see a lot of him in season 3 when the branches are merging. We talked a lot about that in our branch merger episode that we've already done in the past. Go look for that. It is not 2 hours long.
We promise. Or and 2 1-hour episodes.
I mentioned this there, and I got to bring it up again here in case you don't go back and listen to that and you've already sat through almost 2 hours of this. Everybody gives Josh a hard time because he leveraged his promotion at Dunder Mifflin for the job with Staples, or a better job at Staples.
Smart
move,
that, man. Yeah.
100%. Get whatever you can out of whomever you can, whenever you can.
At work? Definitely.
Yeah. Your company does not give a fuck about you, regardless of how much they say they do, how much they say you're a family, whatever other bullshit they're spitting at you. They will have no problem cutting you loose if it saves them money somehow, and they feel like they don't need you.
Right. I mean, there's no loyalty.
No.
No honor amongst thieves. That's the mindset you got to take when you work for a business.
I also feel like Josh seemed like a good manager. He had good relationships with his employees. We see it with him and Jim at the convention. They play Call of Duty with his employees. Before Stanford closed down, it was one of the most profitable branches. I would have been there for Call of Duty Wednesdays, man. I used to be super good at Call of Duty Modern Warfare and Modern Warfare 2.
I mean, that would be super fun. I would love playing with the people in the office. It's just kind of like a,
team building type thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a pretty good idea. I think he all around is a way better manager, and the fact that he wasn't necessarily as successful in sales terms or most profitable like Scranton was, I also think he was way less of a headache.
Absolutely. Way less of a headache than Michael Scott, and a better people person than Michael Scott, knew how to read the room and, not to make all these social faux pas that Michael would make.
Right, but still have a decent time at the same time.
Right, and yeah, he also knew that it's okay if you take an hour to play Call of Duty with your employees once a week. You're not gonna, the branch isn't gonna shut because of that, and it helps everybody's mood within the office and synergy and all that bullshit.
Fuck, I wish my boss would have Call of Duty week now.
Aren't you a boss? Make Call of Duty Wednesdays a thing, Nick. You've got the power.
I might. I fucking might.
Isn't it just you and one other guy? That'd be a pretty boring Call of Duty day.
Hell no. It'd be fun as hell.
And that brings us to the last branch manager we see from a different branch, and that is Karen Filippelli, the branch manager of Utica, New York. We see her in Season 4, Episode 6, Branch Wars, and Season 5, Episode 14, Lectured Circuit. I think Karen went too far in the other direction when she became the manager in Utica. She was so off-put by Michael and Jim's bullshit that she decided to run her branch in a complete no-nonsense manner and just sucked the fun out of anything. Which, I mean, she also kind of did to Jim's life, so.
Definitely, I agree with that 100%. But I think she was still a pretty good manager overall. They were still successful. People obviously wanted to work.
But yeah, Stanley was going to go there. She had more money to give Stanley, so.
Right. He was receptive to that. And, I mean, she's young. I'm sure there was a lot of adversity to get through, but yeah, she really took that no-nonsense approach to the next level. Like, she had zero fun at work.
Zero fun, sir.
Yeah. Once Jim was gone, and she got kind of dicked around by that, it was just like, all right, work's just work now. There's nothing there for me. It's no longer a family situation. Fuck those people.
Yep. So, last thing we need to talk about is our 2 warehouse foremen that we meet at the Dunder Mifflin branch. And really, we need to because we want to talk about Daryl. And so we had to bring him in here. Daryl Philbin was the warehouse foreman between season 1 and season 6, and then he got like some promotion between season 6 and 9 where he's like warehouse manager or something. They never really say like what that promotion is, but it's technically a promotion.
He manages the warehouse, basically. Hires people, right. Trains people.
For Daryl, he is fun but responsible. Unlike Michael, who's just fun and off the wall and not responsible.
He's got the right mindset. Like, as long as he's responsible enough, he has a lot of fun. He's wicked smart. He's funny as shit.
Yeah. Made sure the warehouse was a safe place to work, kept track and shipped over 1 billion paper units, as I mentioned before. He's very responsible. He keeps Michael in check whenever Michael comes down to the warehouse and, doesn't let Michael fuck things up too badly down there. And he also makes time for fun. He's got a basketball hoop down there. They have lunches together, all kinds of fun stuff.
His guys love him.
Yeah, all the employees love him. We don't really know his work history before Dunder Mifflin. He's promoted to the warehouse manager at something because Joe likes his ideas and thinks he's smart. And then he left Dunder Mifflin for an opportunity with Athlete/Athleap. And like, I know they changed Athlete to Athleap, but Athleap is still a fucking terrible name.
Yeah, it's very dumb.
Okay, thanks. I just needed to get that out there.
As long as I figured you were going to argue with me, but since you agreed, all right.
What do you think about how would you like to work for Daryl?
I would love to work for Daryl, especially because his number one concern, or his 2 top concerns, are my safety and keeping Michael the fuck out of my face. So right there, that dude would have my whole heart. Michael? Exactly. Yeah, that dude would have my whole heart every day I went to work. It's like, all right, you're my guy.
Yep, I put Daryl on level with David Wallace here. He's a 9. Nobody can be a 10. All right, I'm never gonna find the perfect boss for me. So like, nobody gets to be a 10. He keeps things light and he's legitimately funny, unlike Michael, who tries too hard to be friends with everyone and ends up alienating them in some way and also doesn't ever get anything actually done. With Daryl, you really actually want to be his friend. Like, just by being around him, he's got this magnetism that sucks you in. He's just this charismatic and fun person to be around. And he lets you have that fun, but he's also super responsible for getting the shipments out on time and making sure things are safe and making sure employees are doing what they're supposed to do. So you want to do the right thing for him because you know that the fun stuff that comes along with that is there also.
Right, like, he wants to do the right thing for you. It's really hard not to want to do the right thing for someone else when they're,
exactly,
ultimately, like, your life, your safety, shit like that is the top priority in their mind whenever they're on the job.
And so, because we talked about Daryl and the warehouse foreman, we have to talk about Val Johnson, which I didn't know she had a last name before I put this together. She's the warehouse foreman. Val. Yeah, she's the warehouse foreman in season 9. Had very little character development. It felt like she was just there to be a potential love interest for Daryl and also to give Nate someone to tell jokes off of, which Nate's a great character, so like, I'm glad that existed.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're 100% right. I don't think she took anything away from the show. I don't think she really added a whole hell of a lot.
No.
She took up space. Like,
yeah, I mean, she was there. She seemed like a good manager, I guess. It's hard to tell. She got the job when the old warehouse crew wins the lottery and Daryl and Andy had to hire a whole new warehouse staff. I'd give her like a 7, I guess, for wanting to work for her. She stays on tasks, but it seems like she doesn't really leave any room for fun in the warehouse the way Daryl did. I think it would be hard to go from Daryl to Val.
Right, like, I think she's very concerned with appearing as like one of the guys, so she will not necessarily jive with the rest of them, in the sense like she won't be able to take the jokes as well, or she won't be able to dish it out as well. So it'll kind of hurt her in that regard. But at the same time, if she can earn their respect, like obviously she runs it enough. She didn't get fired. So there's something to be said for that. Like I think she's definitely
I think she's a good manager. It would just be hard to go from one to the other.
It'd be like, oh, it'd be a fucking letdown.
So that is all for the management of The Office.
Yeah.
I don't think we have anything more to say. We probably should have split it up into 2 parts, but there wasn't really a good chance to, and I honestly didn't think it would go this long. But it did. So that's good for you. That's just bonus content for you guys out there. Gives you something to listen to.
Pause it and come back.
Yeah, pause it, whatever point you want. I mean, by the time you're here, you've already done that or not done that. Don't pause it now because there's only like 2 minutes left. But follow us on Twitter at APA something, at alone_podcast. Check out our merch store, tpublic.com/APA something. Leave us a review. If you're on an iPhone right now, you're listening on iTunes, just click the fucking button. That is 5 little stars. Click it, click it, click it.
We would appreciate it.
And then send it to us on Twitter. I'll say what's up.
We might even figure out a sticker situation. We'll see.
Ooh, maybe. I got stickers. I can send you a sticker.
Yeah, I got stickers too.
All right. So follow us on Twitter. Check out the merch store. Give us a review and a rating. All the music for Podcast About Something is provided by those cats.
You guys stay sassy.
Stay classy.